2025. We're delighted to have you with us for this session and the fifth webinar of our series. We'll begin with our speaker, Robert Martínez, who will be presenting on the topic Learning Outcomes That Work and Fudge. Robert is celebrating 30 years in English language teaching across 9 countries. He's passionate about language assessment, technology and learning, and teacher education. He serves as a CELTA tutor and assessor, language assessment specialist for Cambridge and IELTS. He's also an area coordinator for TESOL, Spain North. And Robert holds various qualifications, including CELTA, Delta, and more, and a recent professional diploma in digital learning and design. He also runs a YouTube channel for language teachers called Learning Together with Robert. Before we begin, a few housekeeping reminders. Kindly keep your microphones muted throughout the presentation to avoid background noise. Questions will be addressed during the Q&A at the end of the session. Feel free to post your questions in the chat box at any time. We'll read them out for you. Thank you once again for joining us, and let's get started. Robert, it's over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm really excited about this opportunity. So we're going to be looking at learning outcomes that work and fudge. And you may be thinking, is like, what has fudge got to do with it? So you will find out soon. That's the whole idea. But I would like to start by sharing the agenda for today. We're going to start with a quick poll, then our learning outcomes for this session. We'll look at learning outcomes and lesson planning. Then we'll have the Q&A and then our takeaways. And as always, as I do with my students as well, the credits very quickly to give credit where it is due, okay? Especially nowadays, we know that students copy and paste and don't give credit. So super important that we model it as well. Right, so let's start with a poll. So how are you feeling about this session? I'm gonna ask you to please share your ideas in the chat box. Let me just open it so that I can keep an eye on that. And throughout the session, it's not gonna be a lecture. I'm gonna be asking you to stretch your fingers because I need you to type and participate as much as possible. So how are you feeling about this session today? Let's see. Okay, some people are using emojis, so that's great. Thank you, Beatriz. Atola, wonderful, thank you. In the chat box. So how are you feeling about this session? Okay, another Elena, thank you. That's great. You can use the chat box. Enthusiastic roll-up, thank you, that's great. Okay, Rebecca, Rabia, Heba, curious, good. Nice to be here. Thank you, Sule, Katrina, wonderful. Okay, somebody's trying to write on the screen, great. Intrigued, Amira, and excited, that's wonderful. Okay, and the second question for you. One thing you're grateful for, I think is really important that we're always very positive, and the world is upside down right now, so it's good to always find something positive. So what are you grateful for? And then share it in the chat box. One thing that you're grateful. I'm grateful for health and the opportunities that I have a job that I love. Sorel is grateful for ice cream. Absolutely, I love ice cream too. That's great, Sorel. Being alive in my family, yes, absolutely, especially nowadays. So that's so important, Beatrice. Working at a great school, that's so important, Rabia. I hope if I pronounce your names incorrectly, please forgive me. Obviously, I'm just trying to acknowledge your contributions. Elena, absolutely, nice, yes, absolutely. I think we're very lucky that we get to do something we love. It's not very easy. Okay, great, thank you so much for all your comments. Katrina, Ataola, Rabia, good. Oh, thank you, Rabia. Sule, yes, absolutely, Sule. Sama, wonderful. Yes, great. We are like-minded peers. So let me share my learning outcomes for this session with you. By the end of this webinar, you will have revisited the differences between learning outcomes, objectives, and aims. So start thinking about that, although we're going to do a little activity around that, and how these link to effective lesson planning. I'm also a teacher, although I do management work as well, but I'd like to be in the classroom, so I still teach, and I will continue to teach regardless of my position because I love being in the classroom. So this comes from my own experience as well and from the support that I give to my teachers in my team. You will also have learned a mnemonic aid to remember the elements of good learning outcomes, and I hope that that's going to help you. And the last one, you will have looked at some ideas for lesson planning. Right. So the what. Let's start with the what of learning outcomes. What are learning outcomes? What's the difference between aims, objectives, and learning outcomes? So let's start with the first one. What are learning outcomes? In the chat box, what would you say? How would you define them? There's no right or wrong answer, so don't worry. We're here all to learn and to revise and revisit concepts and ideas. So just type whatever comes to your mind in the chat box. Thank you, Elena. Anticipated results, learning outcomes, good. Thank you, Elena. That's great. Okay, I'm keeping an eye on my chat box here. What about the others? Rabia, okay, wonderful. Voila, great. Sorel, good. Ataola, okay, that's great. Okay, let's see, anyone else? Good, 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 good. Those are Rabia. Good, good. I think they're the same as objectives. We'll look at that. Wonderful. It's good that you're thinking about that. The same as feedback, Sule, Sama, new knowledge. Okay, that's great. We're going to look at that. So this is just to activate your prior knowledge and to make you think about what the possible differences may be. Katrina, oh, very good. And Farah, what new students? Well, good. And the second question, what's the difference then between learning outcomes, aims, and objectives in the chat box? Very briefly, what do you think is the difference? We will look at this, so don't worry. It's just to get the juices going, okay? So let's see. We have Katrina, Farah. Nice. Let's see. What's the difference? What would you say is one of the differences if you think about it? Good. Is it good, Katrina? That's right. Sarah, duration. Okay, long term versus short term. Very interesting. Yes, they're all closely related. Good. Well done. Anything else? The others? Nice. Very good ideas. Absolutely. Ataola. Good. Oh, okay, good. So let's look at it together. Now, I have 3 definitions here. And one is the definition for objectives, one is for learning outcomes, and one is for aims. So we have 1, 2, 3, and A, B, C. I'm going to give you a few seconds to read the definitions and then match them. And in the chat box, I want you to write, I don't know, 1C, B, 2A, whatever you think the right combination is. For objectives and the definition, learning outcomes and the definition, and aims and the definition, okay? So let's see in the chat box. You have a few seconds. Okay, thank you, Maria. Good. Sule, thank you. Okay. Good. Thank you, Maria. Ataola, thank you. Wonderful. Okay, let's see anybody else, any different ideas or similar. Remember that we're here just, thinking about it, getting out those juices going. Thank you, Katrina. Sama, thank you so much. Okay, Sule. Okay, so basically, aims are aims are a result that your plans or actions are intended to achieve. So as a teacher, what we intend to achieve. Okay, thank you, Sule and Azar. Thank you so much for your comments in the chat box. B is our objectives, as people were saying, and C and number 1 then is learning outcomes, is statements of what the learners will learn or be exposed to in a lesson. Somebody's writing on the screen. Maybe they're on a phone or a tablet. Okay, so objectives is something you plan to achieve. Learning outcomes are statements of what the learners will learn, and this is super important, or will be exposed to in a lesson. And aims are just the plans or intentions we have. So looking at learning outcomes, we could say that we can have main learning outcomes, subsidiary, and personal, right? When we're planning our lessons. And we'll look at that in a sec. Now, looking at the definitions, because we have aims, objectives, and learning outcomes, which ones should we use? And now, the literature says that objectives are probably not the best idea because they can be one or the other, while aims are more for the teacher. Aims are more prospective and about the teacher, while learning outcomes are retrospective and about the student. So, I mean, if you want to call them aims, is fine. All I'm saying is, according to the literature, learning outcomes seems to be more suited in terms of definition for the learners. And we know that we want lessons that are learner focused, right? Right, so now that we've cleared that, so, okay, Safa, what about goals? Goals is a synonym for objectives, right? A goal is a synonym for an objective. Some of my teachers in my team, they don't like calling them learning outcomes. They call them learning goals. And someone else, one person said, oh, I don't like that. I always like learning objectives. And that's totally fine. I think the important thing to remember here is that those learning outcomes or objectives or goals are about the students rather than about the teacher. I mean, we also have a role and we also have a space in the lesson plan, but we're focusing on the learners here, okay? So why do we need learning outcomes then for each lesson? You're welcome, Safa. So why do we need learning outcomes? In the chat box, think about it. Why are learning outcomes important for our lessons? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about it. Remember, there are no right or wrong answers. We're participating together, learning from one another, okay? Revising, revisiting concepts. To guide our lesson plan, Sama. Good, absolutely. Yes, that's definitely to guide our lesson, to evaluate, Sule. We can measure effectiveness. That's also very important. All of these are different elements of good learning outcomes. To clarify expectations, Sahar. Very good for course assessment and program assessment. True, also, Safa, very good. Any other ideas in the chat box? Farah helps teachers. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. We're all pretty much on the same track, so that's wonderful. For student reflection, Rabia, Ivy, thank you. Okay, oh, wonderful, Abiba. Good, Sarah, Katrina. Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is really excited, and thank you so much for your participation, because obviously it makes a difference rather than you just listening to me, like talking away. Support learning. Good. Now I'm going to share with you why they're important. You will see that many of your ideas were there anyways. Jones mentions two main reasons: clarity of purpose. If we have learning outcomes, we have a clarity of purpose for the lesson, and it also has a predictive focus in learning, and we want to be able to see or measure, as you guys mentioned in the chat box, whether we were able to accomplish what we had planned and the students were able to do what we wanted them to do. Also, they clearly stating lesson outcomes allows us to assess, and you mentioned it in the chat box. Some of you mentioned it, the intended learning of each lesson with graded accuracy, because they are specific. And we will see how. Also, they help us focus on the learners and what we want them to achieve in the lesson, right? As Manal mentioned, I work on teacher education courses. I'm a CELTA trainer as well. And very often, especially when when I'm working with novice teachers, I guess they tend to be a little bit teacher-centered. Is what I need to do. I need to keep them busy. I need to talk. I need to do. And changing that I to they is really important. I think that when that understands, that was my personal experience as well when I did my CELTA in 1998. I was like very entertaining, but it was about me, and it took a little bit of pain, and it took a little bit of time to realize it's not about me, it's about helping the learners, it's about facilitating. Right, why do you think I chose that image for this next part? Why do we need learning outcomes? And this image is related to an expression we have in English. Let's see, shortly meaning of our lesson. Good, Sahar, Haydar, thank you, Anna, so that they can focus. Good. Why do you think I chose that image? It's related to an English expression that we use. And you say, oh, well, that's right, Sorel, when pigs fly, which is something like impossible or is unlikely to happen. So how many lessons do you have in a day in the chat box? Let's share. 1 lesson, 3 lessons, 5 lessons. How many lessons do you typically have on a day? I usually have just 1 because I do academic management as well. So, okay, 5, Sahar, 5, 3, Sorel, Hader, okay, 3, 2, 5 to 7, Samira, Amal, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, Abibol, Sarah, excellent, 6. Okay. So with that number of lessons, it is unlikely that we will be able to plan full-blown lesson plans for all our lessons. It's unlikely. If you have 6 lessons and you have to plan 6 full-blown lesson plans with learning the individual stages, aims for each stage, description of the procedure for each stage, and everything that is going to be happening, the materials and the rationale and the language analysis is impossible. It's not going to work. So learning outcomes are also super important because we can pack a whole lesson in good learning outcomes if we know how to write them. And we will see that we will get there in the session. So don't worry, because we will get there. But this is just to say learning outcomes are really important and probably not very well used or exploited by us in the day-to-day teaching, right? We will see how. This is so exciting. I get excited because I'm celebrating 30 years and I still have very clear learning outcomes, and you will see pretty much how I write them in the example later. And I feel confident. I feel like I'm a confident teacher and I know what I'm doing, but I still need my learning outcomes. I need to plan my lesson, and my lesson is based on the learning outcomes, my students, and thinking about them, what they do, who they are, who has difficulties, who doesn't, my curriculum, my program, and then putting everything together is like cooking, basically, right? They are also very important because they provide a clear roadmap for the lesson, and they're an entry point for adaptation of our materials. You may agree with me that quite often, especially some teachers may say, oh, I don't have time to plan. I'm just going to go through the book. And they just go one through the book without really knowing what to do, just covering the exercises. So learning outcomes are really important because they really help us see what I need to adapt. When I'm planning, I open up the book, I know what I need to cover, I know my students, and with my learning outcomes, I then adapt, pick and choose what is going to help them. I just don't go through all the exercises 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Otherwise, their teachers wouldn't need to become teachers. They can just anyone can take a book and then just go into a classroom and just go through the exercises. They are also important because they provide clear evidence of what we and our learners are able to achieve or not in a lesson, right? Right, so that's the why. Now we're going to look at the how, so get ready. At the how. How do we do this? Now, I have a picture for you. What do you think he's making in the chat box? Let's see if you made the connection already in the chat box. Any ideas? Very good. Yes, Amira. Fudge. Amira got it. Fudge. Maria as well. Stirring the ingredients also. That's right. Sama and Haydar as well. But basically, he is making fudge. Remember at the beginning of the session, learning outcomes and fudge. Good learning outcomes and fudge. What's fudge has to do? What's it got to do with anything? So I want you to bear with me. I know it's going to sound silly, but I want you to chant with me and clap. I do this also when I do the courses or teacher training sessions, or if I'm using a mnemonic in the classroom with students, I also do it. So repeat and chant it with me. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. Okay? Right. So bear that in mind. I'm not going to tell you everything yet. I'm just going to unpack it now. Right. So do you remember what we said? That aims were, what did we say? Aims were, do you remember the icon? They were, starts with a P. They were, aims were looking into the future. So they are prospective, Amira. Well done. Thank you. They are prospective. So a prospective aim would be, in this case, for example, to learn the present simple. As a teacher, they're prospective. I want the students to learn the present simple. An example, right? What about the second one? We said that learning outcomes were, they were in the chat box, anyone? Let's see. Retrospective. That's right, Amira. You are on fire. Abibo, thank you. Amal, wonderful. Yes, thank you so much. So a learning outcome could be by the end of the lesson, the learners will have been exposed to the present simple by listening to a text about my routines. This is just an example to illustrate the process and what we're doing here, okay? Right, so we said that. We said aims are about the teacher, learning outcomes are about the students, right? So let's see. Do you remember? Do you remember my mnemonic? Can you write it in the chat box? Let's see if you can recall it. I'll chant it for you. Let's see, any ideas? I'll help you with the first one. Ooh, Amira, very, very close. Thank you, Amira. Very good, very close. Anybody else? Let's see. So, Amira's very close. Let's see if anyone else, very similar. Let's see. Ooh, very close, Sahar. Very good. Sama, wonderful. Yes. So it is. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. Keep it in your phonological loop because it's going to be useful and we're going to use it later again. Now, this is a mnemonic aid, a trick to help our memory, to help us remember important things, right? Now, I created a video, as Manal mentioned at the beginning, I have a YouTube channel for teachers called Learning Together with Robert. And I created a video on 3 mnemonics. This is one of them. So if you want to watch it, you can also see it there, or just go onto YouTube and type Learning Together with Robert, and you will see the video as well. Oh, Sama, thank you so much for subscribing already. Okay, so let's start looking at this. Let's unpack the learning outcomes. So we said by the end of the lesson, the learners will have been exposed to the present simple by listening to a text about my routines. And in this case, we have by the end of the lesson. We're going to break it. What's by the end of the lesson, in your opinion? With one word, if you had to say by the end of the lesson, what does it make you think of in the chat box? Any ideas? Let's see. By the end of the lesson is indicating the exit ticket, possible, Amal, possible. But even it's talking about feedback. It's talking about the, by the end of the lesson. So the, any other ideas? Very close, Hater and Amal and Sama, thank you. Outcome, okay. Student expectations, good. Yes, absolutely. We're talking about the when, right? So now let's try and start making connections. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. So when. Now, the learners. One word to indicate the learners. So when, what would you say? When, now, we have the, very good, Anna. You got the prize. Excellent. Yes, Anna. Thank you, Ataola. The who. So by the end of the lesson, the learners. When we're putting it together. The next one, will have been exposed to. What do you think that is? What would be the next word? We need a when, we need a who, we need a. Very good, Sarah. And Amira, Sule, everyone, Ataola, Sorel, oh, you guys are wonderful. Thank you, guys and gals. Thank you so much. So the what, when we want fudge, Harold cooks. When we what, right? The present simple. What would be the present simple? We're going from kind of a broader content to, what do we call that? When we zoom in, in the chat box. What's the next one? Very good, Sarah. The focus. We narrow down and we want to talk about the present simple. So we have when we want fudge, focus, fudge, right? Very good. So when we want fudge, Harold, what do you think by listening to a text? Oh, Sarah, Sama, wonderful. You are on fire. How? And about my routines, what would that be? About my routines, about when we give a topic, in English, we say, especially in teacher training courses, we say that this is king, and that in learning, especially language and vocabulary, it is king. Any ideas in the chat box? So when we want fudge, Harold cooks. So we know that it starts with a C. Harold cooks. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. Any ideas about my routines? Elena, very close. Instead of an N at the end, it should be an X. Context. Very good, very good. So here, the when we want fudge, Harold cooks is a mnemonic aid, is an acrostic, basically, that helps us pack together the 6 elements that Pereira here, 2018, there's a link at the end to the description as well, to the credits. He mentions in his TKT training course. Oh, thank you so much, Maria, for sharing the link to my YouTube channel. Thank you. So Pereira mentions these 6 elements for learning outcomes, and I couldn't agree more with him. And because these 6 elements, when, who, what, focus, how, and context, so when we want fudge, Harold cooks, you can actually pack a whole lesson in them, and it makes them smart. Do you remember what the abbreviation of SMART stands for? In the chat box, we say that learning outcomes or objectives are SMART. Can everyone hear me? Farah says that she can't hear me. Can you hear me? Is it just Farah or everyone?
We are fine, Robert.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that maybe my microphone had gone off.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. Amira, well done. So a specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, timely, close. Elena, fantastic, very close as well. Yes, and it's not wrong. They're very close and they're very similar in the sense that it is, they need to be specific, measurable, definitely. So they're measurable if we're able to see and say, yes, they spoke about the present simple. In this case, they listened to a text about my routines. These learning outcomes here, this learning outcomes as 1, it's okay, but we're going to make it better so that we can make it even smarter. So specific, measurable, achievable, relevant or realistic as well, and time-bound. Fantastic, Sahar and everyone. Thank you so much. You're a wonderful audience. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on, and we can see that, right? And I started using this in 2018, and personally, when preparing my own lessons, when preparing my own teacher training sessions as well, or presentations that I make. And when I observe teachers on teacher training courses, or when I observe my teachers at school, I have to observe them 3 times a year. Then we started working on crafting better learning outcomes, because they also have 5 lessons or 6 lessons, or between 3 and 7 lessons a day. And someone said, it's great to see that it is actually possible. I don't need a whole lesson plan. Number 1, I don't have the time when I have 6 lessons in a day back to back. But I still know exactly what I want to do in a lesson with my students, so that they can use it, they can write good learning outcomes by following this process. Okay, right, one more time. Can you remember what it was? One more time, let's see. This repetition is to obviously help you encode this new information for easier retrieval later. So let's see. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Sule, yes, wonderful. Sahar, Azar, thank you. Yes, that's right. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. When I'm writing my own learning outcomes for my lessons, I sometimes I chant it to make sure that, like a checklist, when we want fudge, Harold cooks, and I make sure that I have all the elements in my learning outcomes. After a while, it becomes second nature, because remember, there's a tip here, a pedagogical tip. Remember that when we do something consciously, it's usually a technique. So forcing myself to chant it, when we want fudge, Harold cooks. But when we start doing it without thinking, unconsciously, that's when it becomes a skill. And this is really important, because that's what we want our students as well in the classroom, to first make an effort of doing it consciously until it becomes unconscious, right? A skill. Wonderful. So let's look at our learning outcomes. By the end of the lesson, the learners will have been exposed to present simple by listening to a text about routines. How could we improve these learning outcomes, in your opinion? Any ideas in the chat box? How can we improve them? What could we add, or I don't know, how can we improve them to make them even smarter, in your opinion? Let's see in the chat box. Tasks, can do statements. Okay, that's very good. Elena, Sule, thank you so much. Haydar, games. That's right. Good. Anyone else? Any other ideas? Okay, songs, rhymes, Amira, thank you. Good. Students to have a dialogue, Sama. Wonderful. Yes, that's very good. Good. Sahar, clear, smart. Very good. So here's an example. And to make them even smarter. So by the end of the lesson, the learners will have been exposed to the present simple, in parentheses, positive and negative form of I and we, because present simple is too broad. It's specific enough, but it's too much. We don't want to have covering one lesson, present form, positive, negative, question form, third person. It would be too much. That would lead to cognitive overload for the students. So we want to make sure that we narrow it down. Remember, this is just an example for illustrative purposes. So present simple, only positive and negative form of I and we. Why do you think I chose I and we in this lesson only? In the chat box, why? What's my rationale behind it? Only I and we and not everything else. Any ideas? Easy start, that's good. Yes, Sama, absolutely. Anything else? What about the others? What do you think? Why questions, Haydar? Good. Third person, Maria, bingo. Yes, with WH. All of those were correct. And Maria basically hit the nail on the head, because we don't want to, because it changes for the third person and is the first time that I'm introducing them to the present simple. I'm trying to just give them manageable things, not too many different forms, because that can lead to cognitive overload, right? By listening to a text about my routines, and this was extra, and used it to speak and then write about their own routines, right? So why do you think by listening to a text about my routines only is a good idea? Because I'm modeling them. They are definitely interested in my routines, because I'm their teacher, and teachers and students are usually interested in us more than in a random person in the course book. So why do you think only listening to a text about my routines is not good enough? Is good, but not. We could do more, as in this case. Any ideas in the chat box? Why would it be better and to use it to first speak, then write about their own routines? Why do you think that would make it better? Our own model, good. So we're modeling first, we're scaffolding it so that they can see what we expect them to do later. Fantastic, well done. Anything else? There's lots of ideas. We can unpack the methodology here for hours. Let's see, why adding that? Passive learning. Good, Sahar. I would say more like active, because I'm getting them involved. First, I show them my routines, and then there is going to be about their routines. Very good. Own approach, Haydar. Definitely. Yes. From knowing to unknown. Thank you, Zule. Yes. And here, which is in the SMART acronym, which is the letter that represents this part. Used it to speak and write about their own routine. Ataola. Good. Real context, Sarah. Yes, relevant, realistic, right? So first I tell them about my routine so that they see a model, and I scaffold it so that they can see what. Then I tell them first to speak, right? Okay, so let's move on. One more time. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. And it represents when, who, what, focus, how, and context. I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. We have subsidiary aims as well. In this case, we could have to introduce verbs for typical daily activities, to speak and write about their and our, so I, you, we, they, typical routines. So now, what's one thing that's caught your attention so far? In the chat box, please. What's one thing that's caught your attention so far? Let's see. Harold making the fudge. Good. That means that it is a good mnemonic aid because it's stuck to your mind, right? In your memory. Now you see Harold making fudge, and that's going to be the trigger to remember when we want fudge, Harold cooks. Sorrel, thank you so much. Measurable, that's right. Hater, thank you, Sorrel. Thank you so much appreciated for your kind words. Right, well done. So good learning outcomes versus learning objectives. Good, focusing on learning outcomes in an easy way. Sama, fantastic. Now, how can we share our learning outcomes with our students so that they're accessible to them? Because if I tell my 11-year-old girls, I have a group of 8-year-old girls in grade 2, which is like the end of A1. If I tell them by the end of the lesson, you will have been exposed to the present simple, they're not going to understand any of that. So there's a way of making those accessible to the students. And we can use the acronym called WOLT. Any ideas of what WOLT means? Let's see. It's an acronym, so let's see if anyone knows it. Okay, time is ticking, so I'm just going to show it. We are learning to use the present simple to talk about routines. That's all they need to know. And to speak and write about our own routines. So we are grading the language. We're grading it down so that they are able to understand what it is that we do. Right? Your turn. One last time. Can you write it in the chat box, please? The last time. In the chat box. Let's see if you remember. And we're finishing basically, and then we can go through the Q&A. When we want fudge, Harold cooks. Amira, you are a star. You got a star. Sarah as well. Well done. Sahar. That's great. It works. I mean, they work. And I create mnemonics for my students as well when I see something difficult. And once they get the idea, I ask them to create their own, because obviously they're going to get agency. Is their own. They're doing it themselves, right? Wonderful. Now, let's move on. So that's that. When we want fudge, Harold cooks, and the 6 elements. Maria already shared that. So let's go through the Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? I still have finish the sentence, the takeaways. But before the takeaway, any questions? Has anyone got any questions that they would like to ask?
Thank you for that, Robert. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can write either in the chat box or raise your hand, and and you will be called on to be unmuted.
Okay. Okay, let's see if anyone has any questions. Could you please elaborate? Measurable. Yes, absolutely. So measurable means that we can measure, that we can look in, we have a specific, from an observer point of view, when I observe my teachers, then, and they write a learning outcome, if they're measurable, by the end of the lesson, the students will have been exposed to the present simple. I can see if at the end of the lesson, did they work about the present simple? On the present simple, what aspects of the present simple? The I, you, and I and you only forms. Did that happen in the classroom? Yes. So there's clear, tangible, or visible evidence that happened. That's why a learning outcome is measurable. If in the end they start talking about the vocabulary around the listening text, and then the lesson takes a detour, then I can see that the learning outcomes were not met or partially met, because the focus shifted onto the vocabulary needed for the routines rather than on the present simple. Okay? So measurable means that we can usually see what's written. We can see evidence that the students did it, the teacher did it, there was something on the board, the materials reflected it, and so on. Okay? Farah says, what is WALT? WALT, let me just go back. It's an acronym for we are learning to. When we tell the students, where I work at a very big school. It's been going on, it's a long-standing school, 67 years, very, very popular here in the north of Spain, where I'm based. And we're part of International House and part of Equals. And one of the requirements is that we teachers must inform the students about the learning outcomes for the lesson, or the aims, if you want to call them aims. And so we need to tell them at the beginning of the lesson, or at some stage during the lesson. So today we are learning to use the present simple to talk about routines. In my personal case, I'd like to have a slide that is especially for lower levels, so that they can see it, read it, and hear it at the same time. Okay, great. Any other questions? I think it seems like there are no other questions, so I'm just gonna let me move on. Yeah, it seems like there are no other questions, right? So,
does anyone have any other questions? No? Okay.
Oh, okay. So please finish the sentence in the chat box to see your takeaways. One thing I'm taking away today from this webinar is, oh, what happened? Okay, let me stop sharing. So one thing I'm taking away is, what would it be? Amazing approach. Thank you so much. Clarity about learning outcomes. Farah, Haydar, Harold has to cook. Yes, he has to make fudge for us, right? Okay, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Where are you? Good. When we need fudge, right? The WALT acronym, that's good. The difference, fantastic. Okay, and thank you, Haydar. And to know you. Oh, okay, and just to finish up, bear with me for a second. Just to finish up, let me just get back onto this. Oh, okay, here we go. Let me just share my screen again, and then we can just finish up here. Okay, here, pointed screen. Here, so we did this. So thank you everyone so much. And now your turn. So first of all, thank you for your active participation, because you deserve it. Thank you so much. You've been a fantastic audience. Thank you very much. All the icons that I used are from the Noun project. I have a pro account, but they are free as well, and they're wonderful. I use them because they're free, and in terms of copyright is very useful. And all the pictures that I created that you saw, I created them with Microsoft Bing Image Creator in ChatGPT 4. And those are the credits where the pictures are. I write, as I said at the beginning, I think it's important nowadays that we also model academic honesty for our students, because they tend to just copy and paste. And so that's the end. Learning outcomes that work and FUDGE. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just going to stop sharing and let Maria get back.
Thank you, Robert. We really appreciate it, and we thoroughly enjoyed. I didn't even blink an eye for a second, to be honest.
Thank you, thank you.
We can all open our videos now and have a group photograph together if you're all happy with that. We can have a nice group photograph with all of us, and we will post it on our social media. So if you want to open your videos now, and we can have a nice group photograph together. Hello.
Oh, it's so nice to see everyone.
Rest of you.
And please keep in touch. Please keep in touch. Oh, thank you. It's great to finally see a name to a face. Helena, Sule, Sorel,
hello,
Haydar,
everyone.
Atola, thank you.
Hello, Haydar. Hello, Sorel.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Hello, Elena. Anybody else? Beatrice, Rola, anybody else would like to open their cameras? You're most welcome to open your cameras so we can take a good photograph together. I'll wait. Hello, Samira. Hello, Sahar. Sama, rest of you. Anybody else?
Oh, that's great.
Another 2 seconds. Rest of you. Nice to see you all. Thank you for coming to our platform. We're really happy to see you all. We hope to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
See you all, and it was a pleasure to have Robert as well with us. It was very interactive, very interesting for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Big cheese for everybody. Oh, some of you dropped again. Okay. Anyways, I'll just take a screenshot now. Smile. There you are, rest of you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you all, and we hope to see you all in our future webinars as well. Please, I've shared a link in the chat box. If you could kindly give us your feedback and keep on subscribing to our channels. And today's session is being recorded. It will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. And once you receive your certificates in 5 to 7 working days, you will also receive a link to the YouTube channel where today's session has been uploaded. Great. Thank you so much again. Bye for now.